5 characters starting on each side of the court, and a referee to confirm the beginning of a match. Tension already present as the question of who will get first possession of the ball looms in the air. Who can begin the match with scoring? Each member of the team, already with an idea or strategy in their mind of how to obtain the ball, capitalizing and beginning a long disparity of points between them and the opposing team. Shooting, passing, jumping, dunking, and scoring. It's all that resides in their minds, all that they process for the moment of this play. This is the scene we slowly see more and more intensely in Takehiko Inoue's 1990 manga, Slam Dunk, a story bringing a wide cast of growing young adults together in their own high school's basketball team, with varying passions and reasons to play, and different beliefs and skill. But every member shares the united dream of winning, varying in intensity through each member we come to understand. We're introduced to this narrative with the drifting delinquent Sakuragi, a tall and brutish first year of Shohoku High, currently being rejected by a girl, which according to Sakuragi's small group of friends onlooking the tragedy, is another in a series of rejections. While Sakuragi is an egotistical teenager, the reality is he's only the king of rejections and disappointments. Sakuragi doesn't have any hobbies or inclinations for school activities, and with this incident, it seems like his high school journey will end as mundanely as we see it's begun, with him continually chasing after his classmates. But while reflecting on the event and neglecting his previous period of class, Sakuragi is approached by a girl and asked if he's interested in basketball because of his height. This question becomes ignored as Sakuragi's mind is filled with thinking about how cute the girl is, while she continues to analyze the potential of his athletic build. When he's brought back to her question, he confidently states that he's an athletic and sporty person, a conversational invention to make the questioning girl Haruko interested in him. When Haruko becomes more excited in him, it creates a bit of motivation for him, which he uses to pretend to be a real athlete, the sporty kind of guy Haruko likes. Although Sakuragi's knowledge of how to accomplish this transformation is very limited, and only propelled by his overconfidence in himself. But right in this conversation, we are shown just how Sakuragi lives life. He's energetic when he has motivations, with his strengths and persistence following that. The only problem is finding that motivation. Right here though, the dream of potentially dating Haruko is a suitable reason. Haruko herself actually has some experience in basketball, as she was a member of her school's own team in junior high, inspired by her big brother's accomplished activity in the sport. Soon after Haruko brings Sakuragi to the school's playing court to explain the basics to Sakuragi, we see Sakuragi learning confusedly about the sport, not captivated in the appeal of playing it yet, until Haruko recounts a story about a legendary move, the Great Slam Dunk. One time, years previously, Haruko watched her brother manage to pull off a slam dunk so powerful it shocked the whole auditorium and opposing team. This singular moment completely energizing the game and creating a legendary story of triumph, something Sakuragi could imagine himself doing. As Haruko attempts to teach Sakuragi how to slam dunk, something she can't quite herself accomplish, we see him obviously fail even after gaining so much confidence and excitement on pulling it off because of his poor coordination. But instead of being negative about this failure, Haruko compliments Sakuragi on just how high he could jump, and with this praise, Sakuragi's relationship with basketball has begun, even with just the shallow goal of impressing Haruko again. It's interesting seeing Haruko and Sakuragi's relationship, especially with how it narratively parallels his journey as a basketball player. He was inspired to take his first leap because he wanted to impress Haruko, but while he failed, this compliment by Haruko really fuels him, demonstrating just how temperamental and sensitive Sakuragi's character is, especially with how he performs in the sport. The slam dunk failure also helps naturally introduce Sakuragi to the sport, giving him something to use his large frame and stature for, slowly sprouting a motivation to improve. But we see Sakuragi remain unsure about basketball, not passionate in it entirely, especially after meeting Rukawa, a talented player Haruko admires. Sakuragi tries to forcefully investigate what Haruko likes about his edgy, reserved demeanor, not being sympathetic to his romance rival at all. Although Sakuragi is definitely similar to Rukawa in the way the two both frequently get into physical conflict with others in school, Sakuragi even hits Rukawa after he insults an onlooking Haruko, which leads to Haruko having an emotional outburst against Sakuragi, as she misunderstood the mutuality of the fight. Sakuragi is deeply hurt by her words, and it almost solidifies his now hatred for basketball and the school's team, which led him feeling rejected again. After class one day, Sakuragi is quickly brought back to think about the sport when he unknowingly meets Haruko's brother, Akagi, the leader of Shohoku's basketball team. Sakuragi verbally ignites a conflict with Akagi about basketball after insulting the sport, leading to a one-on-one challenge at the court between the two. While Akagi is even taller and wider than Sakuragi, because of Sakuragi's inflated confidence, he wants to prove that he's better than this giant who's played basketball since middle school, not deterred even slightly by his previous failure in basketball, especially in replicating Akagi's own slam dunk. The scene's great in introducing Akagi, because we so quickly see how much basketball means to him, learning a bit of what he's sacrificed for it. And even just insulting the sport wounds Akagi's own pride and joy for the sport he lives for, something Sakuragi doesn't have, so he just easily puts it down. It shows Akagi's drive to defend his passion, while also once again emphasizing how little Sakuragi has, not even understanding why someone would enjoy and put so much energy into the sport, as he has nothing to focus on in his passions. He has nothing to challenge his spirit in or use his confidence for. This duel is a great introduction for the two characters, them only knowing slightly about each other through Haruko's words. Akagi is clearly the better player, but the duel isn't about Sakuragi outscoring Akagi. Sakuragi's challenge is only to score once on Akagi before he can score 10 on Sakuragi. Sakuragi just needs the potential to score a single time. The condition displays Akagi's true belief of Sakuragi, that he's worthless in basketball and knows nothing about it, even though he belittled the sport like someone who's had experience. Akagi sees through the bluff. It's a great setup, while also putting Sakuragi back on the court, this time against his first ever opponent, one standing far taller than him in every factor, with only their burning confidences holding them equal. Sakuragi's informal debut also brings about a crowd watching, a gladiator-like chance for Sakuragi to show his skill he's sure he has. One of them being Haruko, who regretted her previous outbursts on Sakuragi, not being able to find her way to apologize to him, and also anxiously distressed that he decided to duel her brother, her goal only ever being to unite them so Sakuragi could join Akagi's team to help them compete in the nationals. But now, her involvement has only ended up in this current endeavor, with the two pitted against each other, not as teammates. But as we quickly see the growing relationship between Sakuragi and Akagi, it's clear that due to their personalities, they were never going to be introduced to each other amicably, and this conflict was the only way to connect the two. But with the growing crowd and the spectacle developing as Sakuragi continues casually insulting Akagi and his sport, Haruko's brother starts taking it more seriously. He quickly and efficiently conquers possession over the ball, displaying Akagi's true skill. Not just his towering physique, but his finesse and control over the court and athleticism, exactly what the more oafish Sakuragi lacks. The only way Sakuragi is able to somewhat counter and gain control is by using his still impressive strength we've seen in the previous scraps he's had with delinquents at school, using primitive forms of actual techniques that surprise the rest of the basketball team in the audience, and possibly providing credence to Haruko's seen potential in him. But even though Akagi still managed to zone him out for a while, Sakuragi is able to land that slam dunk he first attempted a while ago, and this time on an opponent, something that, while not pacifying Akagi's dislike of Sakuragi's punkish attitude, does earn Akagi's respect of him, as he managed to accomplish the move against him. Even with the two's personalities physically conflicting with each other, Akagi's sprouting belief in Sakuragi's abilities and the opportunity for him to be recruited brings their complex collaboration to begin. In the aftermath of the duel, and after Sakuragi joins the team, he's quickly thrown into a world of practice, training repetitions, and learning about the infinitely many techniques and rules of the sport. And we, alongside Akagi, are continually reminded in Sakuragi's introduction to the team the fact that he is just a complete rookie. Despite his talent, Sakuragi is still just running around the court, oblivious to the many technical factors of the game flying over his head. While he can dunk well against one stationary opponent, he has poor dribbling skills, poor shooting technique, and poor maneuverability against opponents actually defending their baskets. He's basically pointless in any real game, which is bad seeing as the Shohoku team is due to play a practice match soon. But it's hard for Sakuragi to be interested in the basic fundamentals. He seeks the flashy and full of power techniques, yet doesn't understand them being built on fundamentals. Akagi sees this unenthusiasm for the basics as Sakuragi not being diligent enough to improve in basketball, but it's really just due to Sakuragi's way of learning. He doesn't want to be a basketball player. He wants to dunk impressively, and his failures in learning the basics really puts him off of the sport once again, as his passion isn't in routines and drills. It's still in the physical feeling he got when he landed the dunk. Sakuragi wants to feel like part of the team, but Akagi forces him away from them to practice by himself, and this isolation does not inspire him to be better. It makes Sakuragi begin to give up. But Akagi isn't the leader of the team, and we see that when we meet the white-haired coach of Shohoku High, Anzai, a former pro player turned college coach, who now teaches the more crudely equipped players at this high school, but with the same compassionate wisdom built through his years of playing and teaching the sport professionally. And Anzai doesn't see Sakuragi as weak-willed and unimportant, as Akagi does, but he sees a bright potential future for Sakuragi, just as Haruko believed in. If only Sakuragi gets to play with the team and see for himself his own strengths and his many weaknesses that he himself will then want to improve. The quicker Sakuragi connects with the team, the quicker he'll connect with training alone because of a growing responsibility. While Akagi's no-nonsense authority makes sense, as he doesn't want to bring down the whole team with Sakuragi's unwillingness to practice, it's really great to see Anzai's hope of Sakuragi. Sakuragi's just confused about what he wants to do, and rather than being told to do something, which his delinquent nature is against, he should be shown what to do, as he can figure it out himself. And Anzai's somewhat simple, wise, and mature coach character is still very effective, because we see his persistence in this attitude, and even later learn how he became this way, and his own struggles that come along with this no-temper style of teaching, especially in contrast to all the other coaches along the road. We see his real legacy, which further adds to how much he cares for this humble high school team. After some reconsideration on practice, Sakuragi becomes closer to Akagi and the team through Anzai's teaching style, as the coach advises them to play a game amongst themselves, where we see Akagi's more realistic performance in an official game rather than a casual one-on-one. Him stampeding amongst the field with his dunks, and also the real commanding power of Rukawa, who's acutely mobile and possessive of the ball. Seeing how good the more experienced players can be shows a glimpse of what Sakuragi could become, while also reminding us, alongside him, of just how poorly he is currently, furthering his need to learn the bare necessities required for playing the upcoming practice match against real opponents. Not only is it ball management Sakuragi needs to grow in, but also the ability to communicate and physically converse with his teammates in short movements on the field, the timing of passing the ball, the eye needed to see openings in the enemy's defense. These can't be learned through solitary practice, but only by playing in the team. The fact that Sakuragi begins to understand you have to fail before you can succeed, as failing starts to show you where you need to improve, even if it hurts Sakuragi's ego. The great thing in the story is that just as Sakuragi begins to love basketball, the pain of losing becomes less than the joy he begins to experience practicing and improving his techniques, especially as those like Haruko and Akagi even share their time to help him. But the truest meditation of Sakuragi actually comes when he practices by himself. It's beautiful to see Sakuragi, who in the beginning was more or less miserable from being rejected and bored in class, coming to love this ever-growing passion of basketball. And we get to see that in these scenic, almost timeless feeling practice sessions, where the repetitions begin to become less boring for Sakuragi, and instead become what he devotes his free time to. Sakuragi is no longer overconfident. We see him build a new and real confidence by himself and in his team. As the team grows, with the 5 slots being filled by more substantial characters, having real arcs and goals themselves, the story finally reaches its full stride. They all have their own insecurities and hopes, just like Sakuragi, and they're all captivating because we understand what they seek and what's getting in their own way of achieving it. I like that we're shown each character's weakness on the field, and yet what Akagi does as the leader isn't shame them, but finds a way for everyone to cover each other's weaknesses. It becomes intuition for each and every one to protect each other, not attack or blame them for their weaknesses or losses. It's a true brotherhood, where everyone helps carry each other's burdens. No one is left behind. The first half of the narrative so greatly develops both Sakuragi's relationship with the sport, him always maintaining just enough perseverance to learn and propel himself forward, but it also develops Sakuragi's relationship with the team, while we learn more about each member and their interactions with Sakuragi, like the developing rivalry between the egotistically confident Sakuragi and the cool-toned Rukawa, who still in a lot of ways is like Sakuragi, especially with how he bites back at him with insults. Yes, the story is about Sakuragi growing to love basketball, but part of that is also about him growing to love the team, and not just in the sport, but also as a strong family-like bond develops slowly through the shared trials playing together. Towards the beginning, we saw how much a dream blossomed in and grew Sakuragi. He finally had a passion for a sport and hope for the future as he could improve himself in something. But while growing with the team, Sakuragi also begins to share every other member's dream. The goals we learn about throughout the narrative as everyone gets more comfortable around sharing with each other, showing the brotherly bond the players have created. It really erodes the selfishness and ego Sakuragi had in the beginning, as we see Sakuragi begin to care about the futures of his peers so naturally, even sacrificing his own comforts and going out of his ways to help them achieve it, because they placed their faith in him with their hopes. It transformed a cold, delinquent Sakuragi with a very little group of friends into someone capable not only of expressing himself so powerfully to the basketball-watching public, but also openly caring for his teammates, all because basketball empowered him to be stronger through caring about something. The art and presentation of these matches are totally visually enthralling in the sense of flow, where the athletes jump and gain height gracefully, only to lock into place in air with their proper posture of throwing or dunking a ball. It's effective in the way it really emphasizes all the power that goes into that moment, that they're still in the air and in control of the ball, and it's the duality of free movement that feeds into one moment where they finally have their movement and mind focused on one thing, while also ramping up the tension of the future outcome. Inoue really creates a perfect presentation in these panelings. The timings of the matches, always having the sense of the score and time left in the game through the panels, heavily add to the tension and triumph. We see on the team's tired faces and growing desperation in making a working play, manifesting in sweat and dizzy rest periods. So we truly understand the dreadful parts where the team and Sakuragi are behind. You can't just focus on defense because you will lose slowly, and you can't play completely offensively because you will be taken down even further in the score gap. It's in the few moments where we have the possession that we see our team's whole hopes placed in themselves and their 4 other teammates. The character designs are also great, with each other's school team's uniform and each face distinguished. Everyone has a backstory, and the designs help illustrate that before we even see the flashbacks. The art really just emotionally encapsulates the feelings of youth through its style and expression. To conclude this review, I'd say Slam Dunk adequately shows how important the sport of basketball can be to these characters, how the cast physically and emotionally got involved in something that brought them together competitively. Like when we saw people like Hokage and Sakuragi as friends, when they would likely never become close without basketball. It showed them how similar they could be. But most importantly, through these characters' hopes we come to explore, we ultimately care about the matches ourselves, with the tension between the two teams always felt as the stakes are understood and palpable. The matches are exciting due to their presentation, whether it's the fast, quick panelings during the plays, or the slower, less claustrophobic moments during the brief pauses. Both the reflections and the actions our characters have are always seen in interesting, contrasted ways. It definitely has a slower start, with some stilted, forced character interactions and generic presentation. But once we fully get the squad and backgrounds of characters more fully presented, Inoue uses these elements very effectively and creates something way more investing. It's a story of an underdog collective, created by an at the time newly popular mangaka, and I'd say all these elements make the story really fun. I'd review Slam Dunk as an 8 out of 10, and I highly recommend it. Thank you for watching this video. It's been a long time, I know, but yeah, I really wanted to make this video. I love Slam Dunk, so yeah, I guess give it a read, and if you liked the video, like it. If you want to watch more, subscribe, and I don't know, leave a comment down below. What series do you think is really good I should read? Because honestly, that's kind of the reason why I haven't made a review in a while. I just haven't found something like that I've read that has completely encapsulated me yet, so yeah, see you guys.